Beautiful. Welcome everyone. Workshop 8. Widgets. User interface. As we all know it, widgets in Unreal Engine. Familiarize ourselves with the terminology. I'm going to share screen as well. Pick up where we left off last week. Feel free to jump on my share screen. And let's begin. So, little recap. We made our little pit of death. Basically, an nice little first actor blueprint, our first blueprint we created that allows us to, which eventually the next tutorial workshop will allow us to receive damage once the character collides with this specific fire pit. So currently just an actor blueprint sitting at the level. The blueprint can receive different types of functionality that we can apply to it, like receive damage once the character overlaps with it in the future. So the next step is to create a bit of a user interface, a bit of a health bar, so we'll know exactly how much health or when our character is close to dying or when he's fully regenerated again. We might add some code to regenerate the health, or maybe some pickup spots. We might be able to grab some health icons in the more advanced tutorials in the future, but we'll see if we've got some time for that. Yeah, pit of death, pretty straightforward. We'll go through actor widgets today, which is another form of blueprints in Unreal Engine. I'm not sure why they're called widgets. Feel free to do some digging on your own time. So yeah, as we all know, user interfaces, can be quite basic, can be quite complex. I believe Alex is a specialist in creating user interfaces. I believe he offered to help with the current project that I'm doing, which would be great. So yeah, it could be quite complex, it could be quite straightforward. Obviously we need them in every single game that we create, our settings, our interface on top, even myself building stuff for architectural visualizations, and I'm gamifying them. I add user interfaces to allow users to interact with certain objects or navigate through different settings, increase scalability, resolutions, and all that kind of stuff. So quite essential to our process. But like I said, we're going to keep it basic for this tutorial. We're just going to create a little health bar, which looks something like this guy right here. So I'm going to add these two files, if you'll let me select it, into the workshop planning Discord channel. And feel free to download them quickly. Some low-res images that I've sourced online from another tutorial, so I have not created these myself. So you can access a lot of open source stuff like that in the future. Hold on, let me get back to the notification. Cool. So you guys downloaded that? All good? We'll use that in a minute.
Yep, it's downloaded.
Sweet. So should have one which is basically a empty version and one which is more of an emissive, which shows full health. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a progress bar, let's say, so that when we receive damage, it slowly fades between one image to the other. Should be quite cool to do. I believe these were created in Illustrator as well, so if you have those skill sets, feel free to explore how to create your own icons for your own game in the future. Should be pretty straightforward. Having a transparent background and keeping it as a PNG is quite important for Unreal use, so just bear that in mind. Okay, usual documentation stuff. Huge page of all the information you will need about widgets, best practices, integration with your own games, optimization and testing. So I'll share this as well after the workshop, so feel free to explore further, especially the best practices. I've got a nice video here which I've followed in the past. It goes through some basic with slight intermediate programming, or some intermediate blueprints, I'd say, but worth getting into for creating nice start and settings widgets for your games. Groovy. Today we'll speed through this one. Will be slightly straightforward one. We'll maybe dive into just a little bit more in the blueprint. Alrighty, so everybody should have their project loaded up. Hello world, with our landscape map loaded in. Not essential for this one, but actually no, we need to play our character just like that. So last week we created a nice blueprints folder just to keep everything organized for future reference. Very, very important. So inside that blueprint, we're going to double click it, and we're going to create, right click in the blueprints folder, user interface, widget blueprint. Call that click user widget, and call that help bar. Now, 1 minute, there's another form of a widget which I want to show you guys, so don't follow this step, but be careful, and I've seen this happen in the past many times. It's essential that you click on user widget, because that will be loaded if you package a game as an executable to put it on like a Play Store or somewhere. If you select editor utility widget, which I've learned the hard way in the past, it does not package it into your game. Purely it says editor, so it only works within the editor of Unreal and not as a standalone game. So just bear that in mind for future reference. That's that. So we created a health bar. Next up, we're going to go back into our main content folder, and we currently do not have a textures folder, so let's create one. Let's right click, new folder, and call it textures. Nice little textures folder, and in there I'm gonna drag and drop 2 images that we just downloaded, health bar images. And they should come in straight away. Now if I'll shift select both of them and hit enter just to open them, or double click back to my main window, make them full screen, we want to make sure that our compression settings here is set to user interface 2D. So it's not set to anything else, because we're going to use this specifically for a user interface. And level of detail, we don't need any level of detail for this texture, so we're just going to go for no min-maps as well. Welcome that way. Cool. So we just replicate that for both, make sure both set the same, no bitmaps, and compression settings set to user interface. Daphne, are you able to follow along today, or are you just listening in?
You talking to me?
Yep.
Yeah.
This one, sorry.
I'm just. It's alright. I will be here for a while until 7 o'clock, and then I will.
Cool.
I'm just.
Alright.
Yeah.
Sweet. So you're gonna watch it again later on to follow through.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sorry about the name, Ishab. Bit knackered today.
It's okay.
Cool. So back into our main content folder, we're just gonna hit Control Shift S just to make sure we save our textures. And we're gonna go back to our blueprints folder and open up our health bar widget. Make that full screen. Should be an empty 2D plane. If it opens into, you should have two icons at the top here, designer and graph view. Graph view is your blueprints where we're gonna write all our code when needed, and designer is where we're gonna design the 2D layout. So to begin with, on the left hand side we have a couple of commonly used assets, 2D assets that we'll use. So border, buttons, checkboxes, maybe images, progress bars, which we'll use for our health bar, text boxes. Rich text boxes is for larger text, fancy text, it says sliders for any parameters, text parameters, and etc. Feel free to open up all the underneath lists and see what they do. There's some pretty cool stuff. Primitives, special effects. We can add some background blur if we wanted to. We can create our own effects, I believe, as well. Anything for optimization, lists, keep it nice and organized, and inputs. So yeah, feel free to explore more of those, and you'll probably see them through the website that I'll share later on through documentation. Now we weirdly enough, in Unreal Engine 5 it doesn't come with a canvas panel, which is the default that Unreal Engine 4 does. So that's pretty much the first thing we should do. It should be listed here under common, but it currently is not. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this panel drop down here, and we're going to take a panel canvas, drag and drop it into view, and that should sort of snap it, the default. Now we can see here, I believe, is that the resolution by default? We're working with a 1280 by 720 16 by 9 resolution, and that's scalable to any 16 by 9 ratio. If we were designing a application for mobile, obviously we would set the ratio for mobile. If we're packaging our game for Windows and mobile, we'll have to create two sets of widgets, or I believe there's a tricky way where you can create one and allow it to scale depending on the resolution in the window that you're using, but that's slightly more advanced. Cool. Canvas panel, we don't really need to name that. It's pretty straightforward. We're not going to use it much. It's just to define our border for where our user interface is going to be. And essentially there's another thing called the border as well. We'll do the same thing, but we'll use multiple of those in the future to organize our user interface a little bit. Now there's not much to this canvas panel, so what we're going to do is, next up, we're going to drag and drop a progress bar into somewhere in the center, and we're going to move it later where we need it. Now, an important thing with widgets and scalability, so you can think of if you have any widget attached to your screen, or even let's say as a game. Let me bring this to the side. So even our editor here, if I scale this, it should respond, right? So again, this is a user interface as well. It should respond in the same way. So how we define our anchor points is quite crucial to how this scaling responds, basically. So usually best practices, we do anchor point top left hand corner, because when we minimize, we're most likely to favor that section. But typically you would want to keep your anchor points centered to the object, so that no matter what happens to the scaling of the window, if you minimize it to different resolutions, different ratio sizes, that object should follow that scaling as well. So that's quite important. It will need some playing around just to get it right the first time, but the more you experiment with it, the easier and more apparent it will be in the future. So I'll bring that back to full screen. As I dragged in the progress bar, we can see it here under the canvas panel as a child of the canvas panel, which is quite important. We can label this, if you click in it twice, you can change the name. So we'll call that health bar underscore progress. And on the right hand side, we can see we've got details, position, size, order, style, etc, etc. Now just by default, I believe if we make this a little bit bigger, so you can drag on the corners and expand it to what size you want. We'll play around with it for now. We'll change it later once we add our image. And I believe if I play around in the right hand side in the details, we have a progress section and a percentage underneath. So if I drag this percentage, which was on 0 to 1, 0 to 1, you can see it's changing that. So essentially what we're going to do with our health bar is exactly the same. We're going to utilize this percentage level. 0 to 1 might be a little bit low to use as health, so we're going to convert it in the next tutorial to larger values like 100 or 1000. Different games have different health, and obviously maybe as you grow in level you obviously gain more health, etc. So we can play with stuff like that in the future. But for now we're going to reset that back to 0%, and what we're interested in is going into the style details drop down. So that should be closed. If you hover open it, that should open up, and we've got two sets of images, background image and fill image. I'm just going to open those two up. Now pretty straightforward. We want our background image to be the 0 health bar and our fill image to be the top health bar, because of the different brightness levels they have. And once we play around with the percentage, it will essentially play with the fill image. So the percentage is associated directly with the fill image section here. Keep that in mind. Groovy. So background image, we're gonna go on where it says none, and we should have labeled these correctly before we brought them in, but you can see there's 1_-9VTXR4Y. You select that one for the background image, and there it is, comes in. Now obviously it's come in at a different size because we played around with the scaling, so it's important to understand what resolution this image came in so we can match it with our draw size. Where is it? So let me just check now back into our textures for a moment, find that resolution. So if I go back to textures, double click on one of the image, and we can see here it's imported it at 561 by 127. So it's important that we match that. So back in the health bar, size 561 by 127, and that should look a little bit neater. And because we changed that for the progress bar, it means it's going to adapt for both images. So now just in the fill image section, I'm going to go over the image none and select number 2, which is our filled image health bar. Now once we enable that, nothing should have changed because our percentage is set to 0. But if we go back to the percentage section now and change that progress you should see that starts to change. Now it doesn't look quite right yet, and we'll fix that in a moment, but you can see now it's overlaying one image over the other. Now, depending on how you treat this image, we could have started the health bar to be, you know, outside the heart, but we've made them both accessible, so it will start from one end and go all the way to start from the left side and go all the way to the right. And below here you can see the left bar is left to right, so you can change that. You can change right to left. I haven't seen many games go right to left with a health bar, but if you want to be different, why not get on it? Maybe from the center, or again, these health bars, these progress bars can do all sorts of different things for different types for the game. So now our color doesn't look quite right when we change this percentage level, so we obviously don't want it to be black, we want it to be emissive red. So what I'm going to do, I believe, is if I go to tint where it's white and take that red color all the way to the top, and that's in the tint, and hit OK. Nope. Let's do the same for the other one. Nope. Interesting. Should have been in the tint. Bear with me. Feel free to explore in the meantime if anything comes up. It's changed though, it should be changing. Fill appearance. Hidden underneath, sorry. We're going to reset that. It's in a different location. We'll set the tint back to white. And if we scroll down to appearance, just had everything opened up, got a bit lost there in the details panel. You scroll down to appearance, is a fill color and opacity, which is currently set to blue. We're going to select that and make it a white, or red shouldn't make a difference, but because we have different styles of red, we're just going to go for white. Cool. And now if we play around again with the progress bar, you can see it's a bit more closer to our image. Everything good? Any questions till here? Straightforward? Nice.
Yeah, it's all good.
Groovy. Now obviously next thing is we want to place this somewhere reasonable to be visible for our game, so feel free to position it wherever you like. I'm gonna go for bottom center, and if I scroll up again to my position and my position Y and my position X, that's relative to, I believe, my anchor point. So if I hover over my center anchor point in the middle of this flower basically, and I drag this flower up, sorry, got freeze there. Okay, bring like that. Let me reset that. So I guess quick way you can do it is you can drag in the middle and position it yourself, or in the details panel under slot canvas anchors, you have a drop down and you have some presets there that you can utilize. I'm gonna go for bottom middle. Feel free to use other ones as well. And now you can see, because I moved my anchor point, my position X and my position Y has changed. So if I reset those, You can see now it's snapping the top corner of my progress bar to the corner of the anchor point. So I'm just gonna shift it up to roughly where I like it, 140. Because I know it's 561. I'll divide it by that's 280.5. Cool. Nice. So it should look something like that. Again, feel free if you wanna play around with it. We can add a simple text box, maybe here on top, or maybe inside, over it. But if you want it to be part of it, make sure to select it. No, can't have a child. Can't put it on the progress bar. But as long as it's in the same canvas panel, should be okay. I can drag a text box there and call it health. And then I can center it as well a little bit. And the same with the text. You can change the fonts, you can bring in custom fonts if you want. Change the color, opacity, might make it a bit of transparent. Go back to 1.8 so it's not fully visible. But yeah, same with all the rest. Feel free to explore with them. Might do another widget on the following one to like create a little start button, so that once we play our game we hit start and then it launches to our level straight away, and that will help a little bit with optimization in the future. So we should all have a health bar, maybe a text, maybe some other buttons around, whatever you've explored. So we're going to compile and save that. As always, our actors, all our blueprints, we have to compile them, which lets us know in the output log if there are any errors with the blueprint, which there shouldn't be at the moment because we haven't added in any code. And obviously saving will save the whole widget itself. So I'm just going to dock this now to the other window, but we just created a widget now, so even if we hit play, obviously that widget is not on our home screen. We need to spawn it like we spawn our character and our actors. We need to spawn our widget blueprint as well. This side. So what we're going to do here, back in the graph view of the widget, could we do it here? Could we do it here? We can do it here. No, let's do it in our character is better. Yeah, let's do it in the character. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so back into our content browser, we should have another folder, third person blueprint, third person. If we go into the blueprints folder of that and into our BP third person character, which should have our character animations we've imported previously. Now what happens here is when we spawn our game, no, because we have them here. When we start our game, we're initiating this camera view. So we have to tell this character that when we hit play, we need you to spawn, but you also need to spawn the blueprint, the widget blueprint as well with it. So if I go back to the code in here and coming out of event begin play, because we want it to happen as soon as we hit play, we are going to create a quick, I I guess we can do it this way. Okay, let's do it this way. Yeah, we're gonna create a variable. So here on the blueprints, we're gonna hit add variable, call it widget. Again, we can be more descriptive if we want to. And under the type, instead of Boolean, we're gonna click on Boolean, and we're gonna search what's it, health bar, and that will give us a reference to our health bar widget blueprint that we made. So essentially what we're creating here is just an object reference, so we can use that widget and do stuff to it in this actor blueprint, which in this case we're gonna add it to the screen, add it to the viewport. So here now we should have a widget with health bar next to it, and you can drag and drop that into the level, the blueprint in the graph, and hit get. And out of the pin, we're gonna set add to viewport. And in order for it to work, we need to connect it with the previous node. Now, don't be alarmed. Sometimes we don't have to have a blueprint like we explained last time. It's a bit of a flow chart. So essentially the flow chart doesn't have to be relational as well. So this function happening here doesn't correlate to this function happening right here. So these things can happen in a linear format. So what will happen here is we're going to start the game. We're going to get some controllers, so our mapping controllers, WASD, how that works. We're going to add it to the game, and then we're going to add to our viewport our widget. So that's purely it, I believe. We're going to compile and save, as always. Now we'll make sure there's no errors. And if I go back to my map, and I hit play, where are you, viewport? Let me know if you all have the same issue at the viewport. Okay, we've got an error here. It says, let's go to troubleshoot. It says here, blueprint runtime access none, trying to read property widget add to viewport. So it doesn't like that user widget function for some reason. Add to viewport. Let me try another approach. Screen. No, that shouldn't be it. Apologies guys, bear with me. Doesn't like the reference to the widget health bar. Why? Okay, a little troubleshoot session. That's a viewport, yeah. That's as simple as it is. Maybe I missed something in the creation. Okay, I guess we have to create it first. Okay, so we'll remove our health bar component variable which we created, and what we're going to do is just going to create a reference to our widget. So what we're going to do is drag out of mapping context and search create widget. So essentially we need to create it first before we add it to the viewport. That is a rookie mistake, apologies for that. and out of the class we're gonna search health bar, and out of there we're gonna add to viewport, and make sure that the return value is also connected to the target. So the return value of this widget will be added to the viewport essentially. So let's make sure that's correct. Okay, and we're gonna compile and save that. And now fingers crossed. Yay! There it is. Woohoo! Now because it's obviously set to 50%, we can see it there, but I can change that back to 100, and we can see that we have an issue with our text box anchor point. It's not aligned with the bar that we've, the anchor point of the health bar that we've created. Now even if I hit F11 to go full screen, now it brings it back, but you can see we didn't play with the adjustment, the anchor point adjustment. So if I'm out of full screen, it obviously will compress that back to another position. If I'm in full screen, it's back to where it needs to be, because that's the aspect ratio in which we created it in, which is 16:9. Burning. Oh yeah, we've got a little text box on the screen here. It says burning whenever I'm going over the box. So obviously in the next tutorial we're going to link up the function of burning and losing health, which is a bit of a deeper dive into blueprints, but yeah, not too challenging, a few more variables. So I'm just going to fix this health bar offset of the text because I don't like the way it's adjusting. So we can see I left my anchor point back there on the top, whereas my anchor point for the progress bar is at bottom center. So I'm just going to do the same for my text. So same as before, go to the anchor, select the text, go to the anchor point, select where you want the anchor point to be. Obviously you want it to be at the same place as the progress bar so they can scale together. Compile, save that. Let's try that one more time. Bosh. So now if I go full screen and back, it should respond. Now one more thing, I'm going to bring my health bar back to progress 100%, if I can find it. There we go. So 1, so it's nice and even. Compile and save that again, and play one more time. Should be all groovy. Any questions to hear? Thoughts, issues, concerns?
No, it's working
I have
perfectly.
to go.
Oh, good.
Sorry, cat. Bye
Oh, no,
guys.
it's okay.
See you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Cool. Yeah. Sorry. First, we had to create the health bar, which that's usually standard. Usually, you could get away with doing it this way. Yeah, that's why it didn't work. I didn't define the widget here, so that's my bad. So we don't need this widget variable.
So there's a second way to do it.
Yeah, very efficient ways to do it. So this way you don't have to constantly create the widgets. You'll just create them as a sequence to when they come in and when they're being called. So typically, the best practice is you would have a master widget which controls all the other child widgets. So that will be like your gameplay settings. Whenever you play a game, every time you hit escape, what happens? Brings up a window with all the different settings, and then when you remove escape, you also have your in-game user interface, which you can't really manipulate, but you can click on abilities and stuff like that. So there's multiple layers to the interfaces that we can create. And check my notes if there's anything I forgot. No, anchor point is pretty much the most important thing for widgets, is just making sure those anchor points are correct, because you could see with the scaling, the aspect ratio, what happened there. So just be aware of that. But generally, widgets are quite a fun thing to play with. Now, usually the graphics behind it does require a bit of Illustrator or Photoshop knowledge, but there is a lot of game asset packs available online that you can download. I bought a pack that's got like some VR icons, some mobile device and desktop icons, which look a bit more cool than the basic ones that I could find on Google. But even with a quick search,
So for widgets, you should always put in PNGs.
yes, because they have a I mean, it doesn't have to be, but you can utilize the transparent layer a lot.
Or is it better because it's just cheaper as well for memory if you use PNG?
I guess so, yeah. You can play a lot more with compression techniques in the engine, but it's mostly for
I'm just wondering what.
transparency.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the standard is.
The
Like a hard, like always PNG or sometimes JPEG.
Can I play with the alpha? Yes, you can play with the. So because I have a PNG, I can play with the opacity layer. Whereas if I had a
Yeah.
JPEG, I wouldn't have this option available for me. I would have it, but I wouldn't be able to play around with it.
Yeah, so just for usability,
Yeah.
just go with PNG.
I believe you can still import. You can still import JPEGs. You can import HEIC files, I think, from iPhone. But that's it. I think that's the three formats. Maybe there's a plugin out there on GitHub if you want to import any other formats, maybe a GIF or something. You should be able to convert it.
Oh yeah, so no animated GUIs.
Potentially, you could. I think you can, but you maybe there's the alternative way to do that is something called sprites in Unreal Engine, 2D sprites.
All right.
I would love a sprite right now. Got Pellegrino instead. But next best thing. Cool. Anything else to cover? Oh, okay, that's cool. Library. What's that? Bit more of a mini sequence. Audio. No, but maybe one more thing. Let's say if we were to add a button in here, similar to our blueprint actor we created last week, which has some presets already for us. So when I drag and drop this button in here, at the bottom under events, I already have some preset events that I can utilize. So when this button is clicked, pressed, released, hovered, unhovered, we can trigger certain things to happen. So if we were to create the start button, we would click here on begin play. On clicked, we want a level to spawn, or we want our actor to spawn into the world, or we want our health to be decreased. Maybe we can set it up that way, where we click a button to kill ourselves, if that's the kind of game you want to build. Really? Yeah, that one was a bit more straightforward, not too complex, if we find the right blueprints to create. But yeah, any more questions?
I'm okay. That was really well explained.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you. So next week we will look at more advanced blueprints, slightly more advanced blueprints, where we're going to create 2 or 3 more variables. So we're going to link up our health bar, which is currently set to 0 to 1. We're going to multiply that so we can get values of 100. And then what's gonna happen is we're gonna parent it with our actor blueprint of Pit of Death we created, so that we know whenever the character goes over this box, it's going to remove a certain chunk of that health bar. Maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 25, maybe it's 15. We can play around with those numbers in the math calculations that we'll do. So there'll be a bit of mathematics involved. Bring your calculators, please. And yeah, after that we'll be pretty much close to the end of blueprints and getting into lighting and stuff. So soon we'll see our scene and our game come together. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, I'm going to stop the recording right now. OBS. See you later.